And of course, we've got a great history of playing on New Year's Day and on New Year's Eve. And it's been wild. Like it's like my goodness, like it's been amazing. Like especially when it dates back to the 20s with the Wallace Wade era.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. New Year's, on, uh, just great days. And now we're stretching it to crap, Jack. One of these days we're going to be playing football in February. Remember the season ended January 1st? Unless you
Yeah.
had the Senior Bowl. And the Senior Bowl, they even have that anymore.
Hey,
And,
college
my
football
father-in-law played in the
February.
Senior Bowl. Hmm?
Kind of like college football February, one condition. Make sure national titles on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it was great back then. You knew that was the final, the blah, 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 all that kind. Now but anyway, I posted to you because I'm a lot older. My top three New Year's Day games for Alabama coming in at number three, and I know what you're thinking. December 29th. Well, who cares?
They're
I
Bronx
will,
Tide
I will
fans.
consider it New Year's Day, but it was close enough. But there was, and I looked through Alabama and all their games and that kind of stuff. And I remember December 29th, 1982 is, pretty close. And Alabama playing Illinois in Bear Bryant's last game as as a coach, and it was a good game. It was close, and I remember watching it on TV, and um, it was great, but it was sad. It was really sad, and then he dies less than a month later from the heart attack. But yeah, that I went through the list and I was like, that's just too close because I was watching the game and it was beautiful. It was in Memphis. Okay, remember the Liberty Bowl? Do they still have that?
Yes, they have the
Yeah,
Liberty Bowl. Arkansas, Texas Tech play each other on Friday there.
yeah, yeah. Good, good. It was a good game, and Illinois was a good football team, and it was a tough year for Alabama that year, and some early tough losses that season. And Coach Bryant, So anyway, that's not my number three.
There you go. Now let's go over your number two.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The
Every time
best
I look,
run play ever in the history of college football. George T just snatching that ball.
yeah.
Snatching that ball.
Oh, the best. Oh, I'll never forget it. In Alabama, obviously, if you go Tuscaloosa and they do the highlights and all that kind of stuff, George Teague tracking down Lamar. The guy from Miami. Anyway, played for the Cowboys. And Miami talking all that trash and everything, and Gene
Lamar
Stallings.
Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, Lamar Thomas and George Teague, not only tracking him down, but taking the ball and turning around, running it back on him. And, Miami with all that trash and Gino Torretta, the Heisman Trophy. And it was, and what, it was also, the first ever SEC championship game, Florida
Yep.
with, Spurrier and Coach Stallings. What a class that Coach
Oh,
Stallings.
and Antonio Langdon with the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, yeah. And it was a great game, and it was total dominance. And Alabama doing the 9-man up, just attacking. It was a great game. It was fun, fun, fun. It was an ass whipping.
Smacked him off the face of the
Yeah,
earth.
it was an ass whipping.
I love the strip. Like that is the one of the best ever
Yeah.
plays for me right
Oh,
there.
it was unbelievable. And then number one, which I watched, Penn State, 1979.
The goal line.
Oh,
Keith Jackson said this
yes.
was one of his all-time favorite games they ever called in his career.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Joe Paterno, Bear Bryant, 1979, number one versus number two. There in New Orleans. And, the goal line stand, it was historical. Barry Krause jumping up there. Um, and the defensive line, what they did up front and everything. It was a great game, and it was a defensive game. Now everybody today is just all locked in on offense. Got to run it up, score them up, and all that kind of stuff. No huddle, hurry up. And but back then, oh my gosh, those defensive games were just it was a beautiful thing.
Oh man, like that stop by Don. I mean, people talk about the goal line stand at 3rd and goal and 4th and goal, but shoot,
Oh yeah.
2nd and goal. Don McNeil just
Oh yeah,
stopped it.
push it. Yeah, go ahead.
Like Don McNeil putting a stop to Penn State at the 1-yard line.
Exactly.
That was just classic right there.
Oh man. And I don't know, these Alabama players that come in there, I don't know, you know, you can look at the Saban, whatever. I hope they show them, and some of these games like Penn State way back, then, and
I think they will. Our first guy in the 2026 recruiting class that came from Gadsden, Alabama. Matter of fact, he had a lot of Alabama football stuff in his bedroom. Like he's got like the history and everything on there. So it's like we get to a point where we can get him on for a Crimson Tide Live episode. I think we'll all probably geek out over the history of Alabama football. So I mean, that I can promise you.
Yeah.
But
Alabama and some of these schools got to get back to recruiting, the guys that are there in the state of Alabama. And it's great to go over that kind of stuff. But in today's world, how much are you going to be able to depend on these guys that coming in from, California, want to say a game and that kind of stuff, and then just run off first opportunity. But the guys from Alabama, and we got a lot of talent here. High school football in Alabama is as good as anywhere in the country. There's a lot of guys, but these guys in Alabama, they'll stay and play. Now I know there's going to be some that are going, all for the money and all opportunity. But I mean, if you want to be if I were from Alabama and I wanted to live and be a legend, stay at Alabama, stay at Auburn. Don't go to these other places.
Yeah.
Don't leave. Who was the receiver? I can't remember his name. He was over in Phoenix City, went to Clemson. God, if he just stayed in Alabama, Auburn, that kind of stuff. Quit running off these other kind of stuff. And then because in the end, you're going to come back home.
Yeah.
90% of them, now I know some of them are going to leave and never come back home, but 90% of them are going to come back home.
Yeah.
And now you're here where people appreciate you. But then running off, 1 year here, 1 year there. I mean, you're not doing yourself a service. That's just my opinion. But money rules it all.
Yep. Money talks. But my top 3 New Year's Day, New Year's Eve games in the history of Alabama football. I've had to really think about this one. For me, number 3 is the 1967 Sugar Bowl, where Alabama smashed Nebraska off the face of the earth. Alabama was basically left in the dust, left out for a three-peat, basically. So they showed
the missing ring.
Yep.
Stabler and my father-in-law Wayne, Coach Trimble. My father-in-law Wayne Trimble scored a touchdown in that game. Yeah, that's a good one. I've seen that on video, and that was a bit. That was another little ass whooping.
Oh yeah, we're like.
I think that game was played in Tulane Stadium, because remember back then they didn't have the. Yeah, they didn't have it. Yeah, so that was at Tulane.
Oh yeah, and the Bama's Grace Games videotape were like they had the highlights of Bear Bryant giving the commentary, and I thought that was a nice touch right there, because it was.
Can you imagine? Now we're talking 19. That game's 67, right? It was in the Sugar Bowl was in Tulane, the Tulane Stadium. There was no Superdome yet.
Nope.
Crazy, right?
No Superdome, no problem. Tulane State. I mean, that was a great game right there.
Yeah.
And number 2, I've been kind of torn on this one, but I think I'm gonna go with the 1961 Sugar Bowl, where we got our first national championship under Bear Bryant.
Yeah. After he came from Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Fourth season. And that was just a Piron classic, because like that was like one of the only close wins for the Alabama Crimson Tide of 1961. 9-0 over Tulane, and that second one was 10-3 over Arkansas. And when people look back at the highlights, they'll notice Alabama wearing those little white helmets. They had the white helmets, which I gotta be real. I like the idea of seeing Alabama wearing white helmets. I may be in the minority of that, but that's okay. It's I want to
Well,
see that at least.
Ray Perkins, when he was coach, they played, um, had I can't remember if it was a game or two or three. I think
They did that a few
with the
times.
white helmets. And I told you when Coach Bryant, about the helmets and receivers, and remember that?
Hmm.
Yeah, that yeah.
We started doing having our iconic red helmets in the 1960 Bluebonnet Bowl in December 17th against Texas. But number one
Yeah,
for
but he
me.
used to, if two teams like Arkansas, Alabama had helmets that were close or whatever, he'd have his receivers wear white helmets. Okay, so for the quarterback, and then make sure you don't throw it to the wrong guy and that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's a part of history that's totally forgotten.
That's true. And number one for me, this is going to blow everyone's minds right there. The 1926 Rose Bowl, the first national championship in
Mm,
all of college football, the game that changed the South,
yeah,
where
I know where you're
basically,
going.
yeah, because it was like 20 unanswered points in the third quarter. It was just bam, bam, bam. We got it against Washington.
Oh, I was fixing to interrupt you, and I was going to say, wasn't that against Washington?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're right. Yeah,
Yep.
Washington.
And then in the fourth quarter, where Washington was scoring a touchdown, they were like, okay, we're going to get it. We're going to get it. But, oh, well, we're not going to have 2-point conversions until 1958. So
Yeah.
that's what really hurt the Washington Huskies right there. So it's like back
Yeah, that was
then.
the game that put Southern football on the map, and you had to tell you, rest everything thought it was the East Coast, West Coast, Princeton. Can you imagine that?
Oh, yeah.
Is it still who? Wait, I may be wrong. Who has most whatever titles? And they always put, you got Alabama, Oklahoma, and then all of a sudden there was Harvard or Princeton or somebody, but that was like from 1880 to 1892 or some whatever. And nobody thought anything about Southern football until Alabama rode the train out there and beat Washington in the Rose Bowl.
And the granddaddy of them all.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. You missed the earlier part, David Greenshield, where Johnny listed the goal line stand as, I believe that was your number one
That was
game.
number one. Yeah, the goal line stand, Barry Krause, and there the greater part of the game was or that play was the defensive line and pushing that allowed Barry Krause, number 77. We have that Daniel Moore painting and all that kind of stuff that allowed that play or allowed him the opportunity to make that play and stop the running back. And that was a great game. Yeah, that's my number one. January New Year's Day game. I was sitting there watching. It was awesome. And
Oh,
two
that was
great coaches, Joe Paterno, Bear Bryant, and two great football teams. I mean, you look at the guys. I mean, if you go back and look at the rosters in that game, it's unbelievable. I mean, just the talent. Remember Chuck Fusina? That's Penn State.
oh, man.
I knew their players as well as I knew Alabama. Been hearing about them all year.
Oof.
Oh,
Man,
it was
that
awesome.
man, that was a
Alabama's
classic.
running that wishbone. Those
Oh,
tearaway
man.
jerseys, ripping those suckers off. Oh man,
That
ugh,
was the 1970s right there,
ugh,
like
tearaways.
There we go. Like the Waltons, All in the Family, the Jeffersons, Sanford and Sons, and Alabama football dominating all of college football with the wishbone offense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, reading that, and pitching that ball in those tearaways, and no, it's just crazy, crazy. It was crazy good. Oh, I miss it.
Yeah, it was a great one right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I know it's probably shocking some people that I got it. Like I don't have like the goal line stand number one. Like it's actually for me like number four. Like I was torn between like 4 and 3 for that one.
Mhm.
But it was for me like the 26th Rose Bowl that it's number one. And ironically enough, Wednesday will be the 99th anniversary of the 1926 Rose Bowl. So it's like 2025 will be the 100th anniversary of the first national championship team of Alabama football.
Hey, what would be funny is back then the train ride. I wonder if in honor if Alabama would take football take a train ride to play in a Rose Bowl train. How long it took back then.
Oh man.
Anyway,
But yeah, it's like I know where there are like some people that some Alabama fans that were like, "Oh, well, why do we have to go to Russell?" It's like, why would anybody have an issue with it? It's like that's basically the basis of Alabama football. That was where we were basically that's where like some of our traditions were founded. I mean, our fight song was founded in boom, like some of the lyrics.
hmm
You know, there we go.